In a highly predictable turn of events, Texas has a new Democrat jumping into the 2026 race. Be still my beating heart. Take a look.
She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person. Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
Yes, that's right. Democratic firebrand Jasmine Crockett launching her campaign for the Senate yesterday.
The Congresswoman was long rumoured to be considering a bid, but the official announcement came on Monday. Take a listen to what she had to say at her launch event.
There are a lot of people that said, you got to stay in the House. We need our voice. We need you there. And I understand. But what we need is for me to have a bigger voice. What we need is not only a voice, but we need to make sure that we are going to stop all the hell that is raining down on all of our people. I'm done watching the American dream on life support while Trump tries to pull the plug. The gloves have been off, and now I'm jumping into the ring.
Crockett joins a hotly contested race for the Democratic nomination. 2024 Democratic Senate nominee Colin Allred dropped out of the race earlier yesterday, clearing the way for a showdown between the Congresswoman and state lawmaker James Talarico. Talarico even welcomed Crockett into the race with his own video yesterday. Take a look.
On behalf of all of us, I want to welcome Congresswoman Crockett into the Democratic primary race. We have always maintained that we are pro our campaign, not anti anyone else's. We will make the case for why we are best positioned to win this race in November and take power back for working people. But we will always treat Congresswoman Crockett with the utmost respect. She is my colleague and she is a leader in our state. She deserves nothing less.
As for conservatives, they seem to view Crockett's announcement less as a declaration for the U.S. Senate and more as a cringy political stunt. Matt Walsh referenced Trump's attacks in Crockett's launch video, writing on X, quote, "I never thought I'd say this, but I agree with every word of this Jasmine Crockett ad." And conservative influencer Link Lauren seemed downright gleeful at the idea of taking on Crockett's campaign.
This campaign is going to be so bad, but so entertaining. It's going to be like Baby Bop from Barney running for office. Okay, Jasmine Crockett just reminds me of Baby Bop these days. She also released a campaign video, which was her just standing there for 44 seconds while President Trump talked crap about her, and then she turned to the camera. It was honestly a perfect microcosm of Jasmine Crockett. She was not engaging with her constituents. It was all about her.
Senator John Cornyn, who currently holds the seat up for grabs in 2026, echoed that glee, telling Semaphore, quote, "I'll try to wipe the smile off my face. I would say it's a gift." Colin Allred, obviously he wasn't successful before, but he was what I would call closer to a normal Democrat than Jasmine is. She is something else. Ah, yes. Princess Jasmine enters the race. I, like my friends on the right, am just giddy with excitement for what this campaign will
Be careful what you wish for, Robby. I would say that. There are lots of people who are heralded or derided, I should say, as unelectable who turn out to do much better than anticipated. Here's what I'd say in Crockett's defence.
Yes.
In a situation where Democratic primary voters are animated in large part by horror at what Trump is doing, I don't think the launch video is necessarily that bad. I think there's an argument that if Trump hates you, you must be doing something right. And that's certainly an argument.
For a primary.
For a primary, sure. Certainly. Now, in relation to Crockett and her general political persona, I think that some of the criticisms of her, I would actually say, are more classist than racist, actually, because she has this propensity to talk in vernacular terms, and people mock her when, to my mind, she's sometimes making perfectly good points there. There's a clip, I think from last year, when she's referring to Project 2020, whatever that was, 2024, 2025?
2025.
Yeah, and she talks about, she uses words like homeboy and y'all and all that, while she's attacking people from the Heritage Foundation for sort of halfway acknowledging Trump's backing of the scheme without saying so directly. It's perfectly effective. It's just that she speaks in a way that some people bridle at. Now, I do have other doubts about her electability. One is she thinks you can change the electorate and draw new people into the process. To my chagrin, that is actually very difficult to do. And I'll shut up after this, but the final point I have about Crockett that makes me sceptical of her is if you're trying to present yourself in sort of idealistic terms or at least draw in the passions of your party, you have to represent that properly. And sometimes she can be just kind of too clever by half in a disingenuous way. So you'll remember there was the time where she was on the House floor and she talked about Republicans getting donations from somebody called Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes.
And then she later said, oh, I didn't have time to check. It was actually a different person by the same name.
Yeah.
She famously or infamously dubbed Governor Greg Abbott, who uses a wheelchair, Hot Wheels, and then when she was castigated for that, said, oh, I was referring to his movement of migrants within the US. Like, come on, like we're not five. That's obviously not true. So that's a problem.
That's the kind of stuff that I so enjoy seeing from her, and I'm really hoping for more of it. Her theory of this race is, as you said, that there's this, that we just got to turn out more people. I'm going to win because I'm going to inspire all these angry, progressive, Democratic people who aren't voting in Texas, and they're going to come out and elect me. So I should lean into everything that so infuriates the right, and frankly, I think what she suggested in some of her, to lean into identity as a thing that's going to turn out women and black people and all that. And that is a very bad strategy. I think it's been disproven multiple times, to your point. If you're going to winning in Texas is already a little bit of a Democratic pipe dream, I think. They've been way too overconfident on that in the past. I doubt, in terms of the statewide, the race against, for the actual seat, I don't think that kind of a campaign that leans into identity and just anger at Trump and is trying to turn out some massive leftist hiding in Texas, I think that's very, very fraught. Now, for the primary against Talarico, I mean, I don't know. You're right. Stranger things have happened in a primary. It could be the more uncompromising progressive or anti-Trump person wins in the subset of voters who turn out for the primary. James Talarico is a candidate who seems to be doing a lot correct for himself so far, so I think he's a formidable opponent. Additionally, I don't think this is just some very bland centrist Democrat who might get steamrolled in a primary. I think he is still the more likely person to prevail, though it's hard to tell.
Yeah, he seems quite a deft politician in a number of ways. Briefly on the electorate point,
his video to her was quite nice.
It was, yeah, and quite honourable. And he also doesn't want to be seen, I think, beating up on a black woman in a Democratic primary for obvious reasons.
Leave that to the Republicans.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll be eager to do it. Briefly on the point about changing the electorate, before we spoke about this, I looked up one of my favourite statistics for illustrating how difficult that is to do. When Obama ran in 2008, and that was on the Democratic side, the most exciting campaign of my lifetime, probably, the share of black voters turning out rose by 2 points from 4 years before, and young voters under 30s rose by 1 point. Now, he won bigger shares, but that shows how difficult it is to fundamentally change the electorate.
Yeah. Now, the Republican side of this will be interesting, too, because John Cornyn's the incumbent.
Ken Paxton.
And he's facing Ken Paxton, who is a very flawed Republican, has some legal issues, and is disliked by other, but again, this is a classic, disliked by establishment Republican figures, but has a more bombastic, MAGA, the establishment is getting in my way sort of thing. So if he were to prevail in that race, beat John Cornyn, the incumbent in the primary, and then faces someone, faces Jasmine Crockett, I think he'd be a shoo-in. Faces James Talarico, I don't know. Maybe it would be an interesting race.
Just finally, on the asymmetry of some coverage sometimes, if Jasmine Crockett had the legal clouds over her that Ken Paxton had, she'd be literally a no-hoper. I think he gets away with it because he's a middle-aged white man on the Republican side.
How about that? California Governor Gavin Newsom is confusing many online with a bizarre AI photo after he received criticism for how he was sitting during an interview. Really? We'll dive into that story next.